Okay, in this video we're going to go over all the things that need to be done with this truck prior to running it. Traxxas claims this truck is ready to run. And that basically means you can take it straight out of the box, plug your batteries in, turn your transmitter on, turn the truck on, and go. Well, as not only I got mine on December 21st, 4 days after the launch, which was December 17th, 2015. I quickly noticed quite a few things that were off, and we've gone in a lot of the groups, we've gone over all these different things that plague the X-Maxx, and Josh Nortz was kind enough to put them into a list. So I figured that I would take his list and put it on video. I asked him if I could use it to basically make a video and maybe post up on some other groups. I just have to mention his name because he was the one who put the whole list together. We all knew of the problems, he just made the list. First, as soon as you get your X-Maxx, before you want to run it, you're going to want to, basically the easiest way to get to your differentials is take off the 4 bolts on your skid plate and the 2 side bolts on your bumper, and that will remove the entire skid plate and bumper. And then there's 5 screws holding in the front housing of the diff casing. That will allow you to get to your differential, and you are going to want to fill it. From the factory, it comes with 10,000 weight grease, silicone grease in the front. They are sealed differentials. So it's 10,000 in the front stock, 30,000 in the rear. A lot of people, me included, went to a much thicker for 2 reasons. One, and I've already made a video about this, from the factory, they are pretty much bone dry when it comes to silicone grease. They're supposed to be about halfway full, maybe 3/4. You don't want to fill them up all the way. A lot of people, I did a video where I filled them up, what it looked like, I filled them up all the way. Well, once you spin the spider gears, that grease gets pulled down into the inside, and it's actually only about halfway full. So for all of those who may watch my other videos and say, well, you don't want to fill up the diffs all the way because heat will make the silicone grease expand. Yes, that's true, but this is also an RC vehicle. The diffs do not see that much load for them to really get that hot if you do want to fill them up all the way. I've done research. I haven't seen a single thing about someone's diffs exploding because they overfilled it. I've seen videos of people not filling them up at all and running them dry and they explode. But that gets into aftermarket stuff and shit like that, so definitely check your diff fluids. 2, if you can, you definitely want to shim the pinion gears on your differentials. That a shim basically goes between the pinion gear and the bearing and makes the bearing stick out more into the gears of the ring gear and the differential. This will create a better mesh and less likelihood of the stock diffs breaking, stock diff gears. I have the spiral cut hardened diff gears in mine, and I have some shims coming. A lot of things I'm waiting for right now are coming in the mail. Got some things today, still waiting on some things. UPS is slow around my place. Yeah, you definitely want to shim your pinion because that'll make a better mesh, because even after I put the spiral cut hardened gears, there's backlash, and that is the play between the pinion and the ring gear. It can be called a ring gear, a spur gear. There's several different. Basically, the pinion always drives the spur. That was 2. 3, check your slipper clutch. A lot of people have not really, I don't want to use the word complain, but that's the word that is going to come out. A lot of people have complained about their slipper clutches coming loose non-stop. People have said, well, use a nylock nut. It comes with a nylock nut. People have said use Loctite. We've tried Loctite. The best way is to get a second 4mm nut and lock the two together. So basically you have the regular, you're going to want to tighten your slipper clutch. The best way to do it is watch your spring. You don't want to tighten it so much that you break your shaft. I have done that, and I didn't even torque down on it that hard. And the shaft isn't really all that tight. Kershaw even came out with a high pressure slipper. I got a lot of people sending me messages, sorry. It came out with a high pressure slipper that is good for 350 pounds. The shaft can't take that much. Also, if it's too loose, it will generate a lot of heat, and the Spur Gear is plastic. Here's a Spur Gear right here. This is one I got today. This is a 46 tooth. I have a 46 tooth now, two 50s, and a 54. I'm basically going to do some fun with the gearing because mine has the Castle XLX 2028 set up with the Kershaw design motor mount. So it's just, if your slipper slips way too much, basically your plastic is going to melt because it's going to get very hot. It's basically going to work the same way as a clutch in a car works. Like if you are letting it slip non-stop, it's going to burn up. Or if you're always on the brake, if you're a two-footed driver, if you're on the brake and always riding your brake pads are going to get, your brake discs are going to get really hot. And the Spur Gear is plastic, so it will melt, and then you'll have a hell of a time cleaning it all up. Then you got to get a new gear, install it, all that good stuff. So definitely check your slipper clutch. Lock it together. Get a second 4mm nut, and all you do is use the wrench that comes with the X-Maxx and a second. Basically, it's the same size nut that you use to put on wheels for like a 10th scale, like a slash. And then you just tighten it down with the 4-way that comes with many RC vehicles, or you can buy one, or just use a socket. And use a wrench to hold the slipper clutch nut because you don't want it to move. You want to tighten it down. And then a lot of these things that I've done videos for. The differentials, I've already done videos. The slipper clutch, I've already done a video. You just have to look. So tighten it down all the way and then back it off an 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn, depending on how much you want it to slip. 1/4 of a turn is going to slip more. 1/8 of a turn, you're going to have a tighter slipper clutch. You definitely don't want to go with a completely locked slipper because then you run the chance of more. The slipper clutch initially came out to make it easier for people to get off the line without completely spinning the tires. And then they found that, oh, this actually saves some transmission parts, some drivetrain parts, CV pins, all kinds of different things. So definitely check your slipper clutch. It even comes with a tool to do that. Okay, 4. Check every screw, nut, and bolt you can get to on this truck. You have to realize these RC vehicles are put together by humans. Humans make mistakes. I have seen lower shock mount pins put up top, which are actually shorter. I can't remember his name right offhand, but up top you're supposed to have longer than down at the bottom. And he had the same length. At 3 of them it was the right length, but at 1 of them it was shorter. So you want to look at everything, go over everything, make sure. Hell, it's an $800 vehicle. If you're going to buy this, you want it to be perfect. If there's a problem, you need to contact Traxxas. You can email or call 1-888-TRAXXAS, TRAXXAS. Next, the hubs and the Outdrives. The hubs themselves, I've made CV boots for. To do that, all you gotta do is get some 97-cent balloons. You can get Team Associated 1/8 scale shock covers. They work for the CV, for the hubs themselves, the CV joint where the axle and the stub shaft come together. And then for the Outdrives where the dog bone is, I've seen a lot of people using the cuts from the HPI Baja. That's good and all, but it doesn't create a good tight seal. That's why I use balloons and zip ties. A lot of people ask, well, how is the balloon held in place at the hub, at the stub shaft and the hub? So I'll basically use this and my thumb to sort of use a spur gear. Okay, the hub goes up and it has a little lip back here. Well, when you put the boot over it, there's going to be a little extra rubber going where the bearing is supposed to ride. Well, when you slide it on, it's going to pinch it between that lip and the bearing itself, holding the rubber in place. I've had mine on for about 2 weeks to a month now. I can't remember when I made them. Haven't had a problem. Balloons. Just cut off the thin part right where the neck is before you get to the really big part that actually blows up and makes the balloon. 5. Lube the hub and pins. If you are breaking pins a lot, you can contact Fastenal. I actually have 4 right here. My buddy Josh Nortz sent me some. These are Fastenal. These are 3mm by 20mm pins. They connect the dog bone to the hub itself. Josh Nortz has a video of how to do that. Basically, a lot of people have broken the stock pins over and over and over again. Even the axle shafts themselves have shattered at where the pin is. And they're not even beating on it. That's what I don't understand. My truck, there's not a single thing on my truck that has broken unless it was my fault. And I don't understand that because I beat the hell out of mine. I'm not as hard on mine as a lot of other people are, but I'm still pretty damn hard on it. I haven't had cracked rims. I haven't gone through any diffs. The only part that has broke was a front right A-arm and shock shaft that happened when I was trying to come through some trees and I had TSM on and I was trying to go sideways, trying to show off. TSM kicked in, ran the front right tire straight into the tree, the trunk of the tree, breaking the right lower A-arm. The right lowers and the left lowers are identical to the side, and the uppers are identical all around. So definitely, if you're not going to run boots, you're going to want to get some type of dry lube, and or you can use WD-40. But about every other run, you're going to want to clean it out and put some new lube in there. That's a lot of people get these and they ask, what is this squeaking? The squeaking is the CV. It's the hubs, the CV joints, constant velocity joints. These are not actual constant velocity joints. These are U joints. Constant velocity joints, if you ever look at a front wheel drive car, utilize ball bearings. There are some RC cars where you can actually get these. They are more expensive though. Okay, number 6. If you run it a couple times and notice that the shock oil is maybe coming down the shock shaft, it takes a little while for the seals to completely seat in place. When I first got mine, yes, they leaked a little. Stock, it comes with 30 weight oil in all the shocks. I put 100 in the front, 70 in the rear. A lot of people put 70 in the front, 50 in the rear. It all has to do with how you drive What's your personal preference? It all comes down to that. How do you want your truck to react when it comes to suspension? How fast do you want your rebound rate? There's so many variables that you have to look at when it comes to, okay, how do I want my truck to act, even when it comes to the differentials. The differentials, which was the number one thing, comes, like I said, 10,000 in the front, 30,000 in the rear. I put 50,000 all around. That's not thick enough. The Summit, which is noted as a 1/10 scale vehicle and has lockable differentials, has 100,000 weight diff lube, so 100K diff grease. I'm going to put 120K because that's what I have and that's what I think will do the best job. There's been people put 100K in and says, oh, I could be a little thicker, so I'm going with some OFNA 120K that I got. I bought specifically for this truck. You can run you can run 70 in the front, like 70,000 weight in the front, 50 in the rear, but off-road vehicles, I don't know why Traxxas did this, but like my Platinum Slash, which is a racing edition, it has thicker diff grease in the front than the rear because the front differential doesn't work as much as the rear. It doesn't need to be as loose. It needs to grab. So that's why a lot of people put thicker in the front. I think, since I'm just a general basher and this really isn't a racing truck for me, it's just to have fun with. I have racing trucks that are just for that. 120 all around will be perfect. So also with the shock, with it leaking, you can also go with, I have some D-Hawk upper shock caps. The lower shock caps actually have sort of what looks like a grub screw that is has a hole through it, and it's double sealed, has 2 O-rings and I believe a silicone washer between them, and you can tighten it down so you'll have a stiff, a very tight seal, or you can make it loose. Again, personal preference. A lot of this is personal preference. So that was number 6. Like Josh, he uses 70 weight in front and 60 weight in rear. You want, the front always hits things first, so you want it to take the initial impact, but you also don't want your back to bottom out. Again, variables. 7, do some research. There's Google, there is Facebook, there is Yahoo, there's Traxxas, there's Horizon Hobby. There's so many places where you can get information about this truck now. Things that, okay, I want to get this truck, or I want to get a certain RC truck. Would you go out and spend $1,000 on an RC truck or any type of vehicle without doing some type of research, finding out, okay, what kind of reviews does this vehicle have? What kind of problems have people had with it? That's the kind of things that you need to look at and see, okay, do I want to risk it, get this truck, and maybe deal with the problems, which I've had no problems myself. I don't know why. I must have a 1 in 5,000 truck. But the one thing the Traxxas X-Maxx has done is, because this almost 1/5 scale truck is only $800, it has basically brought a new generation into the RC hobby. I can't say that the Traxxas X-Maxx alone has brought back the RC hobby, but it has done a very big portion of it because you get so much for your money. The size of the shocks are enormous. The size of this truck was enormous when I first saw it. Now it's just another RC vehicle. Compared to an Axial Yeti XL, the Axial Yeti XL is a smaller vehicle, but also the Yeti XL has even more problems. Axial vehicles use a lot of plastic. Very soft, breakable plastic. My Axial SCX10, every single plastic part has been changed to metal. The truck was $360. I put $2,200 into it. So that should give you an idea of Axial. They even came out with a Axial Score trophy truck. Trophy trucks are meant not really to race on like what the Slash would, short course. Short course trucks and trophy trucks are two different trucks. But problems are going to arise with Axials because they use a lot of plastic parts. The drivetrain is plastic, and they're putting brushless power in it. Brushless power will twist the drive shaft and just start breaking things. Okay. If you're going to be running it in any type of standing water, if you're going to be running it in water at all, which it does come with a waterproof system, you are going to want to change your bearings and check your bearings recently. I have a video of how to rebuild them and repack them with marine grease, or you can use oil. I chose marine grease because it's more waterproof, more water resistant, and it's thicker, so it'll keep crap out, but it'll also hold stuff in better. If you take a bearing and you spin it and it feels gritty, you need to clean it immediately. One of the best cleaners is you can use carb cleaner. I prefer brake cleaner because it is alcohol based and it does an amazing job. But if you're going to use something like that, either have your windows in your house open and a fan going, or do it outside. Yeah, but definitely with running in water, you're going to need to check your bearings a lot, because dirt will get in them, water will get in them, they will rust, and it's either rebuild them or buy new bearings every time. Why not take off the shields, squirt them down with some brake lean, re-grease them, and you're good to go again. Our job, compared to ordering something, waiting 3 days, maybe 5 days, or if you have money, you can buy it and get it overnight shipped. But some places don't ship same day. Some places do. Horizon Hobby does. That's why I like using Horizon Hobby. Dirt. Getting it dirty. This is number 9. If you get it dirty. A lot of people say use a hose, things like that. Sure, that works if you're on a budget. Best is compressed air. Compressed air will not get anything wet. It will remove dirt amazingly. It needs to be about 90 psi or higher. Canned air really won't work. If all you can do is get if you can't get a compressor, just get a compressor tank. You can buy those separately. Go to your local car dealership or tire change station, whatever the hell you want to call it. Get it aired up to 90 to 120 psi. That'll give you enough to clean up your truck that one time. But best thing to do is, if you have the money to get this truck, shell out an extra $120, $130, especially if you have multiple vehicles like I do. I have 14 vehicles. You're really going to want to invest in something to really keep them clean. Some people say use WD-40. No. WD-40, if you don't get every bit of WD-40 off of it after you clean it, which is going to be a task because it's going to get up in the cracks, it's going to get everywhere. WD-40 is going to be a magnet for dirt. I'm going to add one thing. The stock ESC comes with, the new trucks come with a fusible link. My opinion, you're definitely going to want to go with at least a, you want to replace that ESC. That ESC will not last. Fusible links going off. Every day I get on the group, someone else is saying fusible link's gone, or they got a first batch truck and it didn't get the fusible link, but they got it in the mail didn't install it, and their ESC went up in flames. When an ESC goes up in flames, it's going to damage the plastic. So look at a Castle Mamba Monster X, but I went full bore and I got the Castle XLX. It's not waterproof, but I will waterproof it and do a video on that. Let's see. Oh yeah, tires. Yeah, as soon as you get them, as soon as you get your truck, check your tires. Mine has these decorative little beads. I made these out of some totes. They from Sterilite. They use nylon plastic for those totes. I used a Dremel and basically cut out some circles. Not hard. If you're curious how to do it, I've actually got some metal ones. I sent the template to my machine shop. I have some metal ones coming. I live in a populated area, so my machine shop is taking their time. I'm making it so you can use 6 screws per side, or it actually is sort of designed to look like there's 2 screws at each spoke. So you can do 6 or 12 screws. I had 3 M3 screws, 3M, whatever the hell you want to call them, 3mm screws, so I could only do 1 at each spoke. Works great. And I haven't had any, a lot of people have cracked rims. I haven't had any cracked rims. But you're going to want to glue on your tires, make sure they're glued on well, because a lot of people have ran their truck and then all of a sudden, oh shit, my tire came off. Also, if you're going to be running in the water, the rims have breather holes in them that will allow water to get in. If you don't find some way to get that water out, it will get into the foam and degrade the foam, and then you will have heavy spots in your tires, and when it's going, you will sort of see the tire bouncing because the heavy spot is sort of working like a vibration wheel. One way to get rid of this is every 90 degrees, drill a 1/8 inch hole every 90 degrees, or you can do it every 180 degrees, just on each on each side of each tire. Just drill holes and then ream them out so it'll be a clean hole, so water can come out. But personally, if I'm going to run through water, I close up the breather holes, because if any water gets into those foams, you're not going to be able to get them out, get the water out all the way ever. And the foam is going to start to degrade, and then I think the biggest problem with the rims cracking is the foams themselves. The foams are a very soft foam. If there was a more dense or even closed cell foam that would take the impact and not let the impact go to the rims themselves, I believe they would last longer. Instead of people constantly contacting Traxxas. I mean, Traxxas is going to have to, and there's a lot of people that think that you shouldn't call Traxxas if a part breaks. There's a lot of disagreement about that. If a part breaks, a lot of people say that happens with the RC industry, but I sort of think, okay, if I buy an $800 truck, there's certain parts on here that should not break. Especially if you drive responsibly like a lot of people do. Some people beat the living shit out of it, like Josh Nortz. He's the one who's gone through, he's on his 6th rear diff gear set, and he's gone through 3 in the front, so he's on his 4th in the front. Josh Nortz is a really good friend of mine over Facebook. He's the one who put this list together, so he's on YouTube also, JOSH space NORTZ. He has some videos about how to rebuild the hubs and the axles, how to repair your body, how to basically using some fiber tape and some shoe glue. It really makes it stronger. You can also use some foam gap filler and do along all the really weak spots. The biggest spot, as you can see, is the bed. My bed has some holes in it, and the front end, and of course the top. My top has some holes because it's going to end up on its lid many times. If you change your gearing, make sure you move the pins. Traxxas did make it much, that's another thing that they did that made it much easier for RCers to get into this without some of the things that make it a little hard for people, like setting the gear mesh between the pinion, which is on the motor, and the spur, which is connected to the transmission. The gearing in this is actually a double reduction. You have 2 pinions and 2 spurs. You have the pinion from a motor, and then the spur that goes to the slipper clutch, and then there is a second spur that's on the end of the slipper shaft that goes to a second pinion that goes to a second spur that is connected to the drive line. The drive shaft, I will say, is a piece of hollow, what's the word? I'm thinking it's spline. It's a hollow spline shaft. I've seen them twisted and split. So if you're going to add more power, you're going to have to, that's something that you're going to have to look at. Also, beating on it. You may bend it. If you land on the front really hard, that's going to make the shaft try to spin the rear wheels, and it may get twisted. I saw one that was twisted and split. And dude joking around wondering if he put a 223 round down the barrel. I doubt it. A lot of the other stuff, get on YouTube, Facebook, Google, Yahoo, Bing. There's so many places to look. Also with this, you can't use nickel metal hydride batteries. It doesn't put out the amperage. So you're going to have to go with the most dangerous batteries in the world, LiPos, lithium polymer batteries. They are very dangerous batteries. Do not leave them unattended while charging. I have a buddy. He was charging a 9,000 milliamp 90C SMC battery. He walked away from his shed for 5 minutes to go have a cigarette because he didn't want all the cigarette. You don't want smoke to be around all those electronics. He walked away, came back, whole shed up in flames, because when these batteries go, they spit flames, and there's 3 cells. In this, there's 6 cells because you're running 6S. So that's 6 cells each. Even when they're completely dead, 3.2 volts, but there's a chemical reaction going on, and if you pierce it, there's going to be a problem. It's going to basically spit flames like a flamethrower, and it's going to happen 6 times, because first you're going to have 1 cell fail, then that's going to cause the second cell to fail, more flames. Third cell is going to fail, more flames. Then it's going to get to the other side. 4th cell is going to fail, more flames, so on and so forth. This usually happens during charging. Always use a LiPo bag, a metal box, or you can even use pottery like you put plants in. Just have a cover for it, just in case it does go. All the flames will be kept, and pottery, you can even make a certain, I can't remember what the name of the oven is. It's a really high temperature oven that you can melt different metals in, but using a like 50 cal, I live next to an Air Force base. I have some 50 cal boxes. The bullets are gone. They don't need the boxes anymore, so drill some holes in the top of it. Store your batteries in there. If you're going to leave them for more than about a week, maybe more, and you're not going to use them, you're not going to keep them in a car, put them in that box. So if something does happen, they're in a metal box, they're contained. When charging, use a LiPo bag, a quality LiPo bag, because a lot of these Chinese knockoffs don't work. The flames are just going to come right out of it. A lot of my vehicles have 5,000 milliamp hour batteries that I keep in them. I never have a problem. But I've heard, I've seen pictures, I've Had a buddy, he had over a $30,000 RC collection. Over 10 years, all went up in flames. I got into this hobby about a year. Well, I got into the RC hobby itself about 3 years ago, February 1st. I bought a Phantom, a DJI Phantom, the very first Phantom, off of a friend for $200. About a year ago, I got into the on-road, the surface category, and I'm addicted. I absolutely, there's nothing funner than this to me. If you want to get your child something for Christmas, birthday, get them an RC car. Get their ass out of the damn house. Get them away from the damn screen. Let them get outside, get some fresh air. That is what's so great about the RC community. And one thing that's also great about the RC community is the camaraderie of all the people. Most of the time, 90 to 95% of the time, if you have a broke part, especially if you're racing, if somebody has that part, they will give it to you because they don't want to win at a default. They want to race. I've seen many times on the groups that I'm in. Dude, a person would ask about a particular, saying that I broke it last night racing. What's the aluminum bell crank like? This time I'm talking about the Slash. This is my Slash. This is my beater body. I've got another body that I got to work on, but basically the bell crank is what, if you don't know it, what the servo connects to steer this. I put an aluminum bell crank in, but this is the LCG, so if you get an LCG, you have to get the LCG bell crank because the regular, the CG stands for center of gravity, so it's a low center of gravity compared to a high center of gravity. It won't flip as easy, and also I put the ProLine ProTrack kit on it, so it's a lot wider and it won't flip. It will flip if I try a little too hard to go around a turn, but I've seen people say straight out, I'll send you one for free. I have that part. I'll send you one. That is the great camaraderie of the RC community. It's easily the best community when it comes to stuff like that I've ever seen in my life. I'm 29 years old, almost 30, and just, it's so great. Last thing I'm going to go over on the X-Maxx. The stock transmitter that comes with it does not come with a Bluetooth module, and a lot of people have problems with the braking system. They get on the brakes and it does a front flip. If you want to invest in the Bluetooth module, it's on all you need to get the telemetry and everything for your X-Maxx is you need to buy the $40 telemetry module. You won't get the correct voltage because the voltage wire is actually connected to the receiver. Traxxas did a half-ass job there, so you're getting your BEC or battery eliminator circuit voltage, which is always going to be 6 volts. What you need to do is cut that wire and wire up to the positive side of your batteries, and then you will get the actual battery voltage. Yes, Traxxas should have done that from the start, but they didn't. I am using Spectrum. I like Spectrum more. I get more distance. I like it more. A lot of people have gone to the Spectrum, especially the SRS 4210 receivers that has the active vehicle control, which is about the same as the TSM, the Traxxas renamed it Traxxas Stability Control, but it's actually Traction Stability Control, to make sure that you don't spin out, things like that. It keeps it going in a straight line. It also will keep it, if you go over a jump, it'll keep it flat instead of nosing down or nosing up and landing really hard on the front or the back and breaking something. You will most likely break something more likely if you land on your front really hard. A lot of people have done backflips with this truck. I'm not that type of person. I like to go out and have fun with it. I don't like to push it to its damn limits. I just like to go out and have fun. But the Spectrum gives you so much more. This receiver ESC combo, oh shit. This transmitter receiver combo, if you get the regular receiver, which is the S410, which doesn't have the AVC, is $189, and then through Dollar Hobbies, that's the cheapest place to get, that I found, to get the SRS 4210 receivers. You can also go with the 4201, just don't get the 4200. The 4201 does the same. The difference between the SRS 4200, 4201, and 4210 is how it can be mounted. The 4200 has to be mounted flat. The 4201 can be mounted flat or on any of the sides. The 4210 can be mounted completely upside down. Why someone will want to mount one upside down, I don't understand. Also, I did a video on this as well on how to install the Dusty Motors cover. A lot of people have had rocks get into their servo linkage and jam up their steering, and sometimes even strip out their servo. I've seen locked up servos. I have friends that had locked up servos. Get you a Dusty Motors cover, $35. Comes from Lithuania. Max about 2 weeks, you'll have it. Just put Velcro. I had to put Velcro in the shock towers instead of, like they said, because I'm running the larger setup, so I can't put it down lower, or the shroud will get caught up in the pinion and spur gear. I have another buddy, I'm waiting for UPS right now, that has sent me a 49 tooth and 53 tooth pinion gear that I'm going to be running. I'm just curious what a 53 tooth pinion and a 46 tooth spur would be like. So my buddy Josh, he's the one that sent me this. He sent me these pins, and I have a rear skid plate that I can put on my rear bumper that I'm going to do. He sent me all the directions on how to mount it up. He makes them by hand. So that's something that I'm going to do on the back, because the rear, especially if you try to do wheelies, it's going to eat up your bumper. So if you decide to put a metal skid plate there, you'll be able to throw sparks. I believe I've covered just about everything there. All the things that you really need to do when you get your X-Maxx out of a box. I apologize if it's long, but it sucks that Traxxas didn't. I mean, it's an amazing truck. It's an incredible truck. I can't state that enough. Sucks that differentials break a lot. It sucks that the CV pins break a lot, but if you have that problem, contact Fastenal. A lot of these places are only in America, so if you have a buddy that lives in America and you live in Europe, Canada, I know some people that live in China. Have them order it. I even know some people that live in Israel. I ordered some things and I've sent them the part. Shipping, they have to make up for the shipping, because yes, it is expensive to ship some things internationally. Like some of the differential gears, the new differential gears. One guy wanted me to buy some for him and ship them to him in Israel. I did it. But that's the RC community. We look out for each other. But the X-Maxx is a very impressive truck. Hot racing, if you're curious, offers a lot of aluminum parts, diff cups. The slipper clutch shaft cover is plastic. You can get metal. There's a lot of metal parts. They also make a better slipper clutch that you can get. But my biggest problem is the slipper shaft itself. It breaks if you put too much torque on it, so someone needs to make a hard one of those. But come fall is what I'm waiting for. Come fall, I believe a lot of the companies that have made products, they're testing them now. They will be releasing them in the fall. That's usually when stuff is released, fall, winter. I believe that's pretty much it. I run a 5th scale lighting kit on mine. I'm going to have to cut a hole right here and put some spandex there so it'll stay tight so nothing will get in. But I got to run this wire down into there so I can use the receiver. A lot of people have had their receivers come unbound. If your receiver comes unbound, on top of the Traxxas remote, there's a set button. Turn your transmitter off, hold the set button, turn it on, and then take the rubber plug off the top of your receiver box. Press that button on the top of the receiver while the transmitter is still on, which is the bind button, or at Traxxas like to call it the link button, and it will rebind. If you run too many fans, the receiver will go into a basically a limp mode because too much current is being drawn through the receiver, so you're going to have to change some things. Like I said, I run a Spectrum receiver. I have 5 extra fans. I have the 2028 Castle fan shroud with the fans reversed. I have 2 much more racing ultra high RPM, 14,000 RPM. Each of them push 5 CFM of air a minute. Well, yeah, cubic feet per minute. So that's 10 cubic feet of air. They've actually won awards for how powerful a 30 by 30 millimeter fan is. And also the fan on top of the ESC. Out in 86 degree weather. We've already hit 86 degrees here in central Georgia. My ESC motor hasn't even hit 100 degrees yet, but like I said, I'm running the Castle XLX 2028 setup. Yes, that is overkill. I'm not going to run 8S until someone comes out with some better tires, because I have seen tires basically just get thrown from the vehicle from the amount of power that 4S on a 2028 can do. Especially on this vehicle, even people running a 37 tooth Spur. I can't wait till I get my, still waiting for UPS. 49, it's 3:35 Eastern Standard Time. Still waiting for UPS. They usually don't come until 5, usually. Sometimes they'll come around noon. It all depends on the driver and how many packages. Yeah, we all know that. But I believe that is pretty much it. If you have any questions, like usual, we have on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, search X-Maxx groups, X-Maxx owners. I personally, X-Maxx owners, the name of it is X-Maxx owners. It has some of the most intelligent people when it comes to this vehicle, and also people who have had the X-Maxx the longest, such as myself. But I will admit I am sort of biased to that group. Also, if you have a modified X-Maxx and you're curious about what people have done to modify their X-Maxx, you have X-Maxx Modified. But that's on Facebook. You can also Google pretty much anything about this truck. You can get exploded views and exact part numbers of something. Like I needed some seals for my diff cups because after changing the gears, they're leaking a little. I called Traxxas. I was prepared to buy 2 diff rebuild sets. Hell, they sent me out 2 seals for free, but I still bought a diff rebuild set because it comes with shims for the spider gears. I don't need the shims for the spider gears, but I'm going to shim the pinion gears and the differential so I can, the backlash will be lessened. Because if those teeth hit real hard, you may break a tooth on both the pinion and the ring gear. It all comes down to your driving. But that's it when it comes to this vehicle. Like I said, there's a lot of parts when it comes to D-Hawk racing. I will say this, they use very weak aluminum, very soft, weak aluminum. Do not get A-arms from them. They bend. They are very soft. They are very soft because when I got my shock caps, I was drilling bleeder screws into them, and I was amazed at how soft the aluminum was. It's Chinese aluminum. It's not no 6061 aluminum or 7076, which is the quality aluminum. It is the cheap aluminum. So, yes, this has been a very long video, but there's a lot of things to talk about with this truck. So, if you have any comments, please leave them. Try to stay positive. I know it was a long video, but there's a lot of things to talk about with this vehicle. As with any RC vehicle, a lot of them don't have problems, like the Losi XXL2. Great vehicle, bulletproof, but you're buying Losi. Losi is a very, very good name. They use metal parts compared to plastic. Most of this truck is plastic. But I'm going to call it a day there. I'm at 51 minutes and 5 seconds, so almost an hour video. But that's the list of all the things you need to go over your X-Maxx before you really want to run it, and also things you want to check while you run it, especially if you run through water, dirt, sand. Definitely sand. You're definitely going to water and sand. Those are the two biggest dangers to a RC car. They will get in your bearings, it'll get in everywhere and start just grinding things and fucking things up. So I'm gonna cut it there like usual. Peace. Have a good day. Got any questions? Please comment below.